In 2017, we seen one of the most controversial MVPs in NBA history. Russell Westbrook won his first MVP after losing Kevin Durant that previous offseason. And to be honest, it just felt like the most perfect story ever. The Golden State Warriors became the villains, Kevin Durant specifically became the villain, and Russell Westbrook was really beloved basically by everyone. The storyline for that season, again, felt perfect, but the MVP for that specific season was very abnormal. Russell Westbrook that season became the first MVP to win it without even winning 50 games. Now, I'm not gonna lie, at that time, I thought Russell Westbrook deserved that MVP, and to this day, I still have zero problems with it. Triple doubles at that time held way more value, and back then, it felt like the gold standard to a player having the most complete game possible. Russ realized that narrative, and he chased it historically. Russ, to this day, is the first and only player in modern NBA history to average a triple-double for the entire NBA season. But a lot of people didn't quite respect it because of how manufactured and designed it felt. Russ that season led the NBA in points, but he also led the NBA in shots by far. Russ averaged 10 assists, but he also broke the NBA's usage percentage record by far. Russ that season had the most total points, but he also had the most total misses, and it wasn't even close. Russ's team that year finished with 47 wins, so again, him winning the MVP was very abnormal, but so was exactly what he was doing that year as well. Before that season, the active player with the most triple-doubles up to that point was LeBron James with 42. LeBron had 42 triple-doubles in 13 years. Russell Westbrook had 42 triple-doubles in 81 games. Also, OKC that season, they were 33-9 when Russell Westbrook actually recorded a triple-double. But in the playoffs, Russ flamed out, and that season, along with the rest of his career, basically gets justified as to why KD left him to begin with. And if you look at the MVP frontrunners currently, they kind of have the Russell Westbrook feel simply without the negative narratives. The two best players on the planet are both carrying their teams in unreal ways and leading the MVP race. And look at their projected records.
Joker, as the president of the Big Man Alliance, you are the vice president of the Big Man Alliance. You know I love you, the best player in the league. I want to congratulate you, but I want you to hear from me first. I thought the SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you.
Nikola Jokic this weekend literally just had one of the most dominant two-game stretches in NBA history. Unfortunately, his team only won one of the two dominant games. I've talked about many times how some of the best players in league history won their championships in some of their more least impressive stat years, and that's normally how it goes. Nikola Jokic won an MVP in what looks to possibly be 4 out of the last 5 years, and he won a championship in the year in which he averaged 14 shots a game and only 24 points. Giannis, he actually won his championship in the year in which he averaged one of his lowest points in his prime window. Stephen Curry's last championship year wasn't the most impressive stat-wise during the regular season. My point is, it's typical for superstars' averages to go down in the years in which their teams are actually best for the ultimate goal. But even with that being the case, it's always fun to watch said players put their full potential on display on teams that don't have the most talent. 2018 Bron was probably my favorite LeBron year. 2021 Stephen Curry was probably my favorite Stephen Curry year. This year specifically, we're witnessing that from the two best players on the planet. The Denver Nuggets have clearly taken a massive step back roster-wise, and they're down 2 starters currently, so that makes it even worse. If you look at the players with the highest plus-minus the year they won a championship, literally they're all gone besides Nikola Jokic currently and MPJ. Despite all of that, Jokic is still having one of the most dominant seasons ever. PER is one of the worst stats to use to completely gauge how a player is performing because it leaves out defensive metrics and is heavily focused on box score numbers. I completely understand that and the flaws within that stat, but it can show you how dominant a player is offensively in comparison to league's average and pace. Nikola Jokic currently would have the highest of all time if the season ended today. There's only been a few players in league history to average a 50 with their points, assists, and rebounds combined. The year Russell Westbrook won an MVP, he obviously averaged a triple-double, and for that year, he had a 53. Nikola Jokic right now has a 56. That's the highest ever. I recently talked about Wemby and why I didn't like either his coach's game planning for him to shoot all these threes or him just doing it in general, and to me it's because it neuters his biggest advantage, which is his size. Well, Nikola Jokic and Giannis, they're primary examples as to why I just don't like it. These are the highest point per game averages in a season since 2010, and these are their three-point attempts. As you can see, the two best players in the world currently average the least amount of threes still on this list. Look at the only players this season averaging double-digit twos so far. It's Giannis and Jokic. Nikola Jokic this season is leading the best offense in the sport when he's on the floor, and once he steps off, they fall off a cliff. Also, what makes what Jokic is doing so impressive, for me at least, is how natural and within the flow of the offense it still is. Nikola Jokic this year is second in assists, and he's possessing the ball the most he's ever has in his entire career. Yet, he still leads the NBA in total passes made a night. That shows you he's not just holding the ball for assist. His team just happens to be very mid because they suck defensively and they have no bench whatsoever. And that brings me to Giannis. People don't really talk about Giannis as much because he hasn't really played meaningful playoff basketball in what feels like 2 to 3 years now. But he's having one of the most dominant seasons he's ever has, and he already has 2 MVPs. Most notably this year, Giannis has been a much better mid-range shooter, and look at where he ranks amongst some of the best in the league around that area. That specific development for him takes his game to a whole different dimension. Giannis right now is leading the NBA in points, and he doesn't even make 1 3-pointer a night. Look at where Giannis ranks historically with the most points a game without cashing 1 single 3-pointer a night. It's quite literally unheard of, and you're not going to really see too many modern players on this list at all. And yes, it is a 3-point shooting league, so you might be saying, is that hurting his team at all? Well, no, simply because of his impact. The Bucks this season, they ranked 3rd in 3-point percentage. And since they started their win streak, winning 8 out of the last 10, and I get a lot of it was against bad teams, whatever, but they still won. They're shooting 45% from deep in this stretch. Most of that is how Giannis collapses defenses with his presence inside. Giannis in these past 2 seasons, he's averaging 20 points a night in the paint. Do you understand exactly how dominant that is? Since Shaq, these are the most points a night in the paint. Look at the force this man is. Giannis isn't quite as well-rounded as Jokic is offensively, but Jokic is nowhere near the defender or clutch defender Giannis is. So those two really offset, and they're really 1A. Giannis so far this year has scored at least 20 points and shot 50% from the field in every single game. In the history of the league, these are the longest streaks doing that. Giannis is going to shatter that record. I love Luka. I love anybody else you want to throw in there, but these are the 2 best players in the world, and I think they have a significant gap. If you guys like this video, let me know in the comment section right now who's currently your MVP, right? I don't even know if you can deny what Jokic or Giannis they're doing. Like, I don't care about their records right now because their productivity is insane. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, stay tuned.